call this meeting, James City County Board of Supervisors business meeting to order on February 23rd, 2021 at 1 p.m. All right. Mr. Stevens, can we have the roll call, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Ms. Sadler?
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Here.
Ms. Larson?
Here.
Mr. McGlennon?
Here.
Mr. Hibble?
Here.
All present.
The county attorney asked that we add an item to our agenda today for a closed session item to be discussed on legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice. I have a motion to amend the calendar. So moved. All right, roll call, sir, please.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon? Mr. Hibble? Motion carries.
All right, next we're moving into C presentation, CIP project update. Sean Gordon. How you doing, sir? Welcome. Very good.
So, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Stevens. Mark Abbott and I are here this afternoon to give you a CIP update on projects that we've recently completed. The presentation is kind of divided into two halves. The first half will be on the horizontal improvements, which is our site improvements and stream restorations. And then the second portion is our vertical construction, which is our building facilities and restoration projects that we completed. So I would like to start with first, the Columbia Drive restoration that we completed. This was a project that we needed to perform some corrective measures in the roadway and drainage structures within the right-of-way to allow VDOT to accept that. That was a project that came before you in September of 2020 to allow acceptance, so it's now in part of the VDOT secondary road system. The project amount was roughly $171,000, and we had completed it in April of 2020. Here's some before photos. You can see some of the drainage structures that had sunk, and then after, where we've repaired concrete, curb and gutter, swales, provided a safe access to fire hydrants, and we actually did some asphalt restoration there as well. Next project.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes, sir.
On these items where you're seeing the failures, can you tell us if that's due to one item or another? I know it's the water getting around it, but would it be a construction item that we could address prior to a failure when we're installing certain things? Or have you already looked at it? You may have already looked into that. And
yeah, some of those we did as far as like a preventative maintenance measure. Yeah, some of those we did.
And all the practices we have in place now for installing any of these new facilities, is there anything addressing some of these failures that may be, hey, if we do this and do that with the new facilities, down the road we won't have these failures?
We do try to do that as much as possible. Something, lessons learned, something
Right,
we've learned
correct.
today that's caused a failure, we try to make sure and implement as much as we can in a design and then through our practices to prevent it as best as we can in the future.
Thank you.
The next project is the pickleball courts at Veterans Park. It was essentially demolition of 2 tennis courts and two pickleball courts, and it's now 8 new pickleball courts, roughly $236,000, and that one was completed in April 2020. And here's some before photos you'll see of the tennis courts, and then the 8 new pickleball courts there at the bottom. Next project is the pervious lot project that was at Freedom Park. It's over near the playground area. It was a pervious paver lot that had failed. It was hard to traverse. There was some handicap accessibility issue, traversing to the playground itself. So we actually pulled all that up and replaced it with a asphalt parking lot, and which improved the drainage as well and compaction. That was a $40,000 project. It was completed in September of 2020. And you'll see the pervious pavers up at the top that were removed, and the base was redone in compaction. And then there's the after of the asphalt parking lot.
John, could I ask you just to talk a little bit about how that improves drainage versus the expectation would have been that pervious would have helped, right?
In this case, it actually allowed it to actually get to some of the low impact development features that we had on site. In that case, it actually directed the stormwater to its actual direction, where the pervious pavers also, it did have some infiltration, but it had gotten so compacted that that wasn't properly working, and the sub base had failed, and it was pumping.
So the maintenance on those pervious pavers is something that erodes their effectiveness over time.
Yes, I would say that Grounds is very pleased to have this converted over. If you were, and obviously if you wanted to do snow removal, we can do snow removal now on the asphalt parking lot where we couldn't before, so definitely help with the situation. Next project is the Chickahominy Riverfront Park, the Living Shoreline. It's not complete yet, but it's near completion. We have finished the portion that was in the water. It involved stabilization of the eroding steep banks along the Chickahominy River and Gordon Creek. It was construction of the offshore rock sills and breakwaters to help fix the eroding slopes. We actually laid the slopes back to create a more stabilized area and remove some trees there. The total project cost was $1.46 million. 50% of that was grant funded from the James River Water Quality Improvement Fund, which is a Virginia Environmental Endowment Fund. That one is scheduled to be complete in May of 2021. See here, up at the top portion before, you can see some of the slopes that had eroded and areas where they was just kind of cautioned off that you didn't want to be in. And then the after, you can actually see where the rock that's out in the water, those are the rock sills that were installed, and then we've laid the slopes back and stabilized it, and this has created, this whole area is kind of campsites border the water there, so it's made some nice campsite areas that we had before as well. Those. Next project is the Woodland Farm Stream Restoration. It was a restoration of 2,468 linear feet of stream restoration. So it's just over a half a mile of stream restoration that we did in the Woodland Farm subdivision. The project was $1.65 million. Half of that, almost half of that was funded through the Stormwater Local Assistance Fund grant at $660,000. That was completed in December of 2020. I have a couple before photos. You can see there at the top of the erosion on the banks, and then we wanted to show a couple during photos just to kind of give you an idea of how involved it got. But I have a video that I like to show now that we did a drone flyer over of before and after to kind of give you a really good perspective of the complexity of the project. And that was compliments of our video center, Chris Williams and his staff. So we want to give them credit. go back and put live stakes and more landscape plantings in, so it will get restored to its kind of natural habitat. So within a few years, hopefully, it'll look like we were never there.
Before you move on, could you just give a brief explanation for the citizens who might be wondering the importance of doing these type of projects?
The stream restorations, well, the stream restorations help definitely with water quality. It helps to stabilize the areas. And in this case, it was a lot of residents that were involved with that. So it stabilizes those banks that were eroded. It improves the water quality. It starts removing your sulfates and nitrates and those contaminants in the water to clean up the water.
Could potentially help with flooding as well?
Yes, it will. It helps with that as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
It's a great video, Chris, as always.
Next project is the James City County Library, the Idea Studio. If you remember, this was the children's area that we did a renovation on, and we installed new carpet, paint, LED lighting, storefront partition between the former area and the new kids area. Kind of helps with noise in that case, and putting in shelving. There's a lot of interactive exhibits now, and we did some window repairs and millwork as well. So that was a project that cost $377,000, and the library then chipped in their portion, almost $250,000, which covered the new shelving, the exhibits, displays, and stuff like that. That was completed in September 2020. So you'll see up at the top the old children's area and information desk, and then at the bottom it has the new exhibits, the new information center. On the wall there's a magnet wall, there's a Lego wall, there's a light bright wall, and then some of the displays that they have, like the pet vet, they actually had some donations from one of the local vets that actually gave like an X-ray light board to, for kids to pretend like they are an actual veterinarian. So it was neat. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Abbott to discuss the remaining vertical construction projects, which primarily he worked on, and they were funded through the CARES Act. So, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mark.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hopel, members of the board, Mr. Stevens. My name is Mark Abbott, Operations Project Coordinator here for James City. I have 7 projects to share with you this afternoon. First of which, our James City County Rec Center cardio renovation. This renovation was the former Centera physical therapy space that we converted into a class studio, a personal training room, a new cardio facility, and a stretching and toning space. This project amount was $282,000, and it was completed in May of 2020. As you can see in the before photos, this was the lobby of the physical therapy space. The back area where they did the physical therapy, they had 2 physical therapy rooms, individual actual therapy rooms. And then this last picture in the end was our old cardio space. The after pictures, your up front is that's our new class studio. To the right is in the front of the class studio and a portion of our cardio area. The picture to the right is our new our new personal training workout room. And then the last pictures here are the new open cardio space and our open area that used to be the old cardio turned into our stretching and toning area. Our next facility is our Human Services Center, the social services wing of that building. We converted 6 existing offices, a conference room, and an open work area to accommodate for 10 new office spaces. This was funded by the CARES Act at $85,000 and completed in December of 2020. Before photos show you here of the old space with the new framed walls. As you can see, the inner circle of that wing were rounded were taken out and squared off to accommodate the new office spaces. And this is the after photo showing the newly renovated spaces. Next building is our very own General Services Administration Building. We renovated 2 work areas to create 3 new office spaces. Also a CARES Act funded, $36,000, completed in December of 2020. The before photos show the exit door into JCSA's mechanical warehouse that was taken out, and that wall was extended from our storage area to accommodate a new office. And that is a very blurry picture of the the empty wall where we created two new offices here. On the bottom slides, you can see that spacing for our doors was not a very conducive thing, so our 2 new barn doors that turned out very nice made space for our employees. Our next building is Building A here at the Government Complex. The renovation of the front desk lobby area, glass partitions were installed to create a safe environment for staff. Card access was added to the lobby doors so that only employees could have access to the interior of the building. Also funded by the CARES Act, $35,000, also completed in December of 2020. The front door of Building A, there was a video phone added for security. The doors have been locked, so any citizen may call into the front desk staff and they can introduce themselves before they're buzzed into the lobby area. Once into the lobby area, the middle doors have also been secured with card access so that once in the lobby, they cannot go any farther without being escorted by a county employee. And the before photos, you can see the open window areas for the 2 admin areas, and then the bottom after area, the 2 columns, it may be a little bit hard to see, but the 2 columns actually separate 3 panes of glass. Next building is Building D. This renovation of admin and the attorney's office areas, creating a new office for each area. In addition, relocating 2 office doors to create separation. And we also installed window blind kits in all of the office doors. Also a CARES Act funded project, $48,000, completed in December of 2020. As you can see in the before photos, this was the admin conference room that we split. This is the newly framed wall, creating 1 small conference room and a new office area. The other photo shows there was 3 doors that all exited into the same location that we were able to change and move the door locations in those offices to create more of a separation for those employees. Last photo in the attorney's office, we moved a wall to accommodate for a file relocation to open up a space for a new office in the attorney's area. After photos of the conference, new conference, and the small office in the admin area, the relocation of the 2 doors, and the attorney's area. Next project is Building E. Lobby upgrades very similar to Building A. We renovated the front desk lobby area. Also installed glass partitions to create a safe environment for staff. Card access was added to the lobby doors so that only employees would have access to the interior of the building. This project was also CARES Act funded at $50,000, completed in December of 2020. And very similar to Building A, Building E has the same glass partitions, as well as the video entrance to both the front and rear of the building. Next project is here, Building F. This renovation consisted of HR, our FMS and real estate lobby areas, as well as relocating the mailroom. The project included additional structure support for the new lobby glass partitions, LED lighting, carpet, paint, and furniture. The project amount of $159,000, $99,000 of which was CARES Act, and was also completed in December of 2020. So the before shots of the lobby, we had separate doors for FMS and real estate. Also, real estate lobby was not a part of the main lobby of the building. And then HR was just modular furniture in the front. Also, some of the demolition pictures of HR. After, HR and real estate now share a lobby, more eyes for the entrance of Building F. These glass partitions here needed several structural members to be able to maintain the load-bearing wall, the load-bearing of the roof line here. And then these are interior photos of HR, real estate, and then our FMS admin, which also has eyes on the lobby. And that concludes the 7 projects. Any questions?
Questions?
I had some questions. One, I was just curious how many of these areas, I know the office areas, of course, are being used, but I was curious about the children's area at the library. I imagine it's probably on a lockdown, and then the area at the rec center. I didn't know if it was being used or not due to COVID.
So on the library, we had gotten, just before COVID, if you remember, we were like the week of, we were going to have a ribbon cutting. And we started putting out all the displays and all the exhibits. And the library director, Ms. Fowler, everything started getting pulled back. And really, some of the displays and exhibits really won't be utilized until after we kind of get back into full function. So they've tried to limit items that were more touch interactive in that regard. So they pulled those back, at least for right now. But we had everything set up and complete for that. So.
And then do you know about the rec center?
The rec center is on a limited basis, I believe, right? Is that true? As far as the amount of people that are actually going in there. I don't think it's back up to full capacity, but you can go in there and work out with these, and there's sanitizing and disinfecting.
Okay.
After
So they're using the new
used.
area, okay.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to go back to the impervious pavement that had to get replaced, and just wondering, what do we do moving forward? Because if that's going to be something that we choose to use, but then it doesn't work long-term and you have to end up replacing it. So have you all talked about that, or know how you might move forward?
In the future, instead of pervious pavers and of that type, kind of the industry standard that most have been going to, and you'll see them a lot at the schools and stuff, is actually porous concrete. That seems to be a better fix in that regard.
Okay, so they haven't had to go back and correct that maybe? Okay.
Part on that one as well, the base had failed there over time, because it was creating pockets of water setting, and it had just disrupted this.
The only other thing I'd like to say is that thank you for the update. It's very helpful. And the stream restoration was just, I really appreciate visual. Obviously, I must be a visual learner, but I know some of the work that's been done in my district as well has just been incredible, and it really serves a great purpose to our county. So thank you. Thank you very much for the update.
And Ms. Sadler, I'd like to make one clarification. I believe I said sulfate before. It's actually phosphorus removal and nitrates that is the primary phosphorus. So I just wanted to make sure so I don't get vetoed by the stormwater guys when I leave here.
Thank you for that update on that.
We don't want them waiting by your car.
Exactly.
it's nice to see that we were able to use CARES Act funding, which was really designed to try to make sure that people had safe spaces in which to work from a health perspective, but also allowed us to deal with some security issues that I know had been raised as a result of the Virginia Beach tragedy and others that have been out there. So appreciate the forward thinking about how you can essentially address two issues at the same time, and with the help of the federal government in that regard.
Mark spearheaded most of those projects, so I just nagged him in the backdrop.
Thank you, guys. All right, next on the agenda is board discussions. We have none there, so we'll move on to consent calendar. And the consent calendar consists of 6 items. And is there any item on the consent calendar any member wishes to pull, or may I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
I don't see the animal control officer
Not
here
here.
today.
No.
Okay, so,
Yep.
So no.
I'll move the adoption of the consent calendar then.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, roll please, sir.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel? Motion carries.
All right, board considerations, requests, or directives?
I would just like to thank you all again for that update. It was very, very helpful. I appreciate it so much. You did a great job with your presentations as well. And so I was on did the jail meeting and EDA meeting this week. Also, I just wanted to point out that I appreciate Jason working, as always, with our VDOT representative, because we have ongoing issues here in the county. With all the rain, flooding would be part of that. Lots of water everywhere. So just a shout out to say thank you to Jason for all that you do to keep us in the loop with VDOT. Very much appreciate it. And I think that's about it. Don't have a lot happening right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did on the 16th of February a Zoom presentation and questions and answers with the Capitol Club of Williamsburg, and some of it was the basic presentation we normally give about how county government works, but a lot of the questions, of course, were dealing with the COVID issue, and we got some really good feedback from folks there. I think they're finally happier that we're making progress. So on the 18th, I had again spent my whole day on Zoom, HRTPO and HRPDC meetings. The TPO was fairly interesting, and you'll notice that I sent you the copy of each board member a copy of the 2045 long-range transportation plan, which sort of at the end stages. I think it's supposed to be actually physically adopted in June. And looking at the differences between what I saw in January and February, one was where they had scored projects, and in February is where they had actually gone through and picked out which ones they were going to put in for the funding. And this is a learning process for me. I'm sure Michael's a little more familiar with it, having been through this with a lot of other folks, but I think it's something that we need to emphasize and maybe have Mr. Holt come talk to the board a little bit about, and that is where we really are with the funding for these projects, and this long-range transportation plan, which goes out to 2045, is really a long-range look, but have a better feel for what's already committed, what we have money for, and where we still have to put our emphasis. Committed in that was the I-64 Phase 3 and Long Hill Road Phase 1, which are under construction and nearing completion. On the committed list also was $12.3 million for Croker Road, $18.6 million for the Skiffs Creek Connector, and hidden, because it wasn't under highway, because it was under trails, which I couldn't find until Mr. Holt showed me, was the Pocahontas Trail reconstruction. And it looks like that entire project of $27.4 million, which we had originally broken, if you remember, into sections, 3 different sections in case we had to try to do it. It looks like it's all being going to be funded at one time, which is really good news. Because it is more than just trail. It does have turn lanes. It does create or solve a lot of the traffic problems we have down there. The two that actually were the new ones that were put on there were the Moortown Road extension at $95 million and Long Hill Road Phase 2 at $54 million. Just to give you an idea of it, this plan over that time period of 2020 or 2021 to 2045, looks at revenues of $28.5 billion, $17 billion of that goes for maintenance, debt service, and administration, which leaves $11.5 billion for projects. 4.6 of that is committed projects like we've already had committed here. 4.2 billion is regional priority projects, and we get down to a measly 2.4 billion, which is the new additional capacity. So you can see there's not a whole lot of money over that time period left for other projects. So I just thought we would be helpful to maybe have a better review, if we can, of where these projects are, when the funding might be coming along, when we might think that we might get them done. Because it does sound like the one down on Route 60, the trail, Pocahontas Trail, may get done in 4 or 5 years or something like that. So that would be a real, the only one that I think got sort of omitted was there was a US 60 relocation down between the city, the county line with the city and the Greenmount. They were going to try to relocate some of it. Is that?
I think that ties in with both Skips Creek connector and the Route 60.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't mention that one
Pocahontas Trail
specifically.
project. So we didn't really need to worry about the relocation of that road as a result of the Skips Creek connector.
Okay.
And a lot of the truck traffic.
Okay, so it was one or the other, not both.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so that was the gist of the TPO meeting. The PDC, I did want to emphasize that the chief administrative officers and the from the areas, and we're working through the PDC. So our PDC has 2 representatives on this council with the governor's staff, and they're going to do weekly calls. So it was an outgrowth of that letter we sent and the response we got back. So there's a little bit more of a direct communication line of problems and issues from the CAOs at different areas across the state directly to the governor's staff. I think that's been very helpful. It looks like we have an application in for a community development block grant later this year with the PDC. I didn't realize what it was for, but I know it was mentioned there. And then one thing of interest was there's a project going on right now, the PDC's working on, roadway flooding sensor program. And what they're doing is they're going to be doing a test, putting sensors at flooding areas along the highway, and then linking that to the app Waze, so that when you get flooding information from the sensors, okay, the road is flooded in this area, it'll show up for people using the app for traffic, diversion of traffic around flooded areas. It's supposed to be expanded to a much larger program in out years, but they gave us a briefing on that, and that's one that's coming along right now. And that's about all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I just briefly, VDOT, we are having trouble at the end of Centerville onto 5 with flooding. VDOT has, well, actually, I've been notifying somebody at the county and saying, we're having a problem. And then y'all have notified VDOT. Thank you for that. But I notice it's been out a lot. We've been getting a lot of rainfall, so people just very much use caution in that area. And while we're getting that figured out, and then if somebody can at some point update me on where we might be with 5 in the intersections, that'd be great. Just want to let people know, and hopefully we'll start seeing some information coming out soon. On March 5th, we're going to have a tourism live podcast, Facebook Live, with Renee Dahlman. We'll be hosting that, and we'll have Vicki Semino, who is from Visit Williamsburg, is going to tell us what all has been going on there during COVID, and that work has continued. And talking about visitation now, visitation in the future, and also Chris Johnson will be here from Economic Development. So hope people will tune into that. I just want to thank staff. It's been a busy few weeks, and I know I've talked to several of you, and I'm so appreciative of everything you're doing. And are you going to give a vaccine update in your count?
Yes, ma'am, I did intend to.
Okay, and just thank everybody who's been working on vaccines and working with the VDH. It's much appreciated. I know there's still a lot of angst out there about how things have been rolling out just nationally, and so it'll be great to get an update. And also just, I have heard from some venue operators that are upset that they're still being held to a small number. Restaurants aren't being held to a whole lot more, but they do have bigger capacity, that we have not looked at. I'll give you a perfect example. The aquatic center where my daughter swims in Virginia Tech is 3,500 capacity, 1,000 seating. It's limited to 25 people. You could easily, split the difference, or not even split to 100. You could do 100 people. We'd never come within many, many feet of each other. So I'm hoping that that is getting a second or third glance here soon, because I think even there's a way to start increasing capacity a little bit safely, before, we don't have to wait until everyone's vaccinated. But so I'm hoping that we're getting another look at that. But I have heard from people that are frustrated about capacity.
Ms. Larson, I've heard that there's some discussion going on that maybe there would be some changing of capacities, but I don't have anything official or quantitative to be able to share what that would look like.
Yeah, me either, but I've heard the same. So anyway, just letting people know that I hear you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just mention something really quickly. I've been representing the board on the scattered site housing grant, which I believe is related to what Mr. Eisenhower mentioned a moment ago about the Community Development Block Grant. That would be essentially another $1 million dedicated toward addressing poor quality housing in the county and either rehabbing or replacing that housing. And so the project is moving along. There have been a number of homes that have been identified for rehabilitation or for replacement, and oftentimes the real challenge is the question of ownership of the property, where there are lots of heirs involved, and many of those heirs may not even realize that they are heirs to a piece of property, or have such a tiny share of it, but you have to track down every member of the group in order to get approval for this kind of project. But I must say that our housing staff has been working diligently along with social services to try to make sure that we get as many people who are qualified for these projects in safer housing as quickly as we can. A real challenge during these pandemic times as well. So I just pat them on the back for that and say that the project is moving along, and hopefully we'll have some more funding in order to extend this program even farther. Also wanted to mention that with the presentation we had a little earlier, the importance of two sources of funding that we received. The Virginia Environmental Endowment received a significant amount of funding from Dominion, and we have been beneficiaries of that because we are sort of ground zero for the adversely affected area from their project. But it has allowed us to do some good work to improve the environment. And I was pleased to be involved in the group that set up the guidelines for that program. And so that's a real positive development. And then SLAP, which is the state's local stormwater local assistance fund, is something that we've often advocated to be included in the governor's budget. And we've been lucky over the last several years to not only get it in the budget, but to profit from it significantly. So glad to see that as well. And finally, a shout out to our Parks and Recreation Department. They got some wonderful coverage of Fido Fest on the local news. And I'm sure that there are going to be lots and lots of entries into the competitions for that. So that's it.
Thank you. I only have one item of basically transparency with the with Diana Mormon with the voter registration, and it's nothing that she has done or the voter registration has done. But one of the grants that came through this past year was basically under the COVID relief direction, and it was one of the grants that we found out later that was a privately funded grant. And Diana said she would look at those grants and dig them apart a little bit better than just to find out where those grants may come from, and to make sure that there's no private funds coming into the voter registrar's office that somebody wouldn't think that may come from some other group or another group, and to keep it all up and above board, which she always does, and And I can't say enough about what she has run and trying to find funds and that sort of thing from us or for us for her job well done. But she will look at those in the future and make sure that, you know, those grants are grants that are not privately funded so that we don't miss anything and mix anything up so our voters understand and realize that everything we're doing in the vote or for the voters office and for the citizens are as clear as possible. So that's all the statement I want to make on that one item. And Mr. County Administrator, report from you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I did want to provide an update on the vaccination progress in our community. You know, while providing vaccinations is not normally a local government function, we've gotten pretty good at helping it along over the past several, 6 weeks. I know that you as our elected officials and our county staff have put a tremendous amount of time and effort into understanding and improving the vaccination distribution process within James City County. Working with other peninsula localities, we have made significant progress. As of today, over 20,000 residents of our residents have received their first dose. That represents about 25% of our population. In comparison, statewide, about 13% of the state population has received their first dose. So even though it's been frustrating and a lot of effort into it, and people still wondering how to get their shot scheduled, we are making good progress in this part of Virginia. Scheduling a vaccination appointment continues to be confusing and frustrating for many. Things are improving, but we still have work to do. VDH has launched, or the State Health Department has launched a state registration system, which I would encourage anyone who is not registered and wants to be vaccinated to visit their site at vaccinate.virginia.com and register. If you'd already registered locally, you are in the Virginia system. You should have received an email in the last week. But regardless, if you're interested and have not registered with the state site, I would encourage you to do that. Whether you work for a business that may be taking care of you or whether you're an individual, we are told that everyone should register. For those that can't navigate websites or have other questions, the Department of Health has also opened up a call center with over 750 call takers. They can provide you assistance or answer questions. Their number is 877-829-4682. Again, 877-829-4682. More distribution points continue to emerge, and folks are finding through their primary care physicians, local pharmacies, and then the national chain pharmacies such as CVS and Walgreens, there's more opportunity for vaccinations. The confusing part is each of these sites or entities are required to follow the phased prioritization to vaccinate those in phases 1A and 1B. But each of the entities has their own way of prioritizing appointments and reaching out or scheduling appointments that our citizens have to navigate and figure out a different process. They are not connected to the VDH registration system, which is a point of confusion for many. Vaccine supply continues to increase in Virginia. That is good news for us. A few weeks ago, we were receiving approximately 105,000 doses across Virginia per week. As of this last Friday, we heard that was increasing to 161,000 doses per week. Some of these additional doses from the 105 to the 161,000 are being set aside to help address health equity issues to ensure those with limited access to technology have an opportunity to be vaccinated, or those that are historically underserved have that same opportunity. Local health districts are to request those kinds of things within their district, and we're working with our health district director to do that throughout the Peninsula Health District as well. In addition, the federal government had contracted directly with pharmacies such as CVS and Walgreens, which is bringing an additional 52,000 doses per week into Virginia. So we've moved from not a whole lot of doses flowing in, somewhere around 100,000. That has doubled in over a 6-week time frame to we're above 200,000 doses per week throughout the state. Locally, working with the City of Williamsburg and York County, we established a vaccination clinic located at the Colonial Williamsburg Visitor Center and established a local information call line. Our clinic has the ability to provide 3,000 doses per day. So vaccine is still the limiting factor. And as that improves, we will provide more doses. This week, we expect to provide 3,300 doses in our clinic. Some of those are second doses, 500 of those are first doses. Next week, we have an additional 2,500 doses, of which 1,000 will be new doses and another 1,500 will be second doses. The Virginia Department of Health is now scheduling appointments for our clinic and using their list of those who have registered. So those that have registered with the Department of Health will be invited into our clinic. It's just a matter of how much vaccine we have and when we get to your name on the list. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to call the Virginia Department of Health call center. Again, that number is 877-829-4682, or our local information line is 877-724-1954. And again, our local number, 877-724-1954. And with that, Mr. Chairman, if there are any questions, I would be happy to try to address those, or if that's enough, I'll be done.
Any questions? All right, well, while we're still on that and before we go into closed session, the president had ordered the flags at half-staff. We've hit the mark of, it's a shame, over 500,000 people in the United States have passed away due to COVID. And I'd just like to take a moment of silence for our group and to honor those citizens that we've lost in this tragic event as far as the COVID and everything's going on with them. So if we can take just a moment of silence and remembering everyone that we've lost in the United States for this COVID tragedy. Thank you. All right, now if I can have a motion to go into closed session for, let's see, right here, Attorney General, let's see, request for opinion of the Attorney General in pursuit of Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia.
So moved.
Ms. Stevens, would you call the roll, please, sir?
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Ripple?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we're in closed session.
already spoke about only those items we said we would speak about going into closed session?
Roll call, please, sir.
Ms. Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan? Mr. Ripple? Motion carries.
All right, next on our agenda is adjournment until 5 PM on March 9th, 2021 for a regular meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Roll call again, sir.
Sadler?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Ripple?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We're done.